What's going on, guys? My name is Doug, also known as Latino-Thani Mantano, the internet's heaviest music nerd. Today we're going to be reviewing Sabrina Claudio's debut album, Truth Is. I became familiar with Sabrina's music through her Confidently Lost EP that came out in 2017, which surprised me not only with how beautiful she and her voice were, but also with the quality of the songwriting and the production. Since then, she's managed to create her own lane in this new branch of sultry, breathy singers, and she's been one of my favorite artists to keep up with in the genre. The project opens off with Take One to the Head, which, unsurprisingly, is a love song. It's strange in that it seems like Sabrina's in love with someone that she doesn't want to love, as she compares this person's love to venom, poison, and says that it's toxic. She also says she'd rather take a bullet to the head than to continue to hear the words that this person is speaking, which is kind of a testament to how unpredictable love can be, that you would be able to find yourself in love with somebody like that. She sings over some very smooth production, right? The bass line is very groovy, there's some jazzy notes to the guitars, and there's some very subtle vocal arrangements that kind of add to that whole hypnotic feeling to this track. And then next we have the title track, Truth Is, and there are actually two different versions of this song on the project, one in English and one in Spanish. Sabrina talks about an ex-lover and says that she doesn't really miss them or need them or even think about them that often, only to reveal in the chorus that she lies to herself and that she dreams about them all the time and that she does love them, and the truth is that she needs them. And she does this all over very beautiful pianos and guitars, and in the background there's a point where these beautiful climactic resounding strings come in and take over the track and kind of like lift the entire production up. It's pretty great, actually. It's a very nice moment, in my opinion, in the song. The version in Spanish is way more laid back, without any drums or violins. At the very most, it features heavenly choir vocal arrangements in the background with a very subtle cello or a standing bass and some somber guitar melodies. I personally find the Spanish version more appealing, but the English version is pretty great as well. Next, we get a more traditional pop song featuring Zayn in Rumors. This is what I would expect to get lots of radio play. I would expect to hear this in some mainstream clothing retailers that are catered to the younger crowd. It's definitely got that like Forever 21 H&M vibe to this song. Sabrina and Zayn both sing about rumors that are going around, about them and unnamed lovers, and how they like the way that the rumors sound, how they like this image that people are painting of them with these unnamed people. I'm not certain whether they're talking to each other or not, but it doesn't sound like it. It's pretty much your standard catchy pop track. I mean, I expect it to do numbers. There's nothing really negative for me to say about this track. Like, I don't see any reason to dislike it, but it also doesn't jump out at me as unique or different or very interesting personally. I do like Zayn's voice though. I do like the fact that he is featured on this song, and yeah, I mean, that's really about it. Hurt People is about two people that are struggling to learn how to love while they figure out themselves who they are. And as a result, they end up hurting the people that they care about the most, which is something that I'm sure many people can relate to. It features very minimal production, basically founded on a very sad, somber guitar and bass chord progression. It also features some very nice strings in the background and at some points some very quiet keys just to set the mood. Sabrina's performance though is tremendous. It's touching, it's beautiful, it's passionate, it's emotional, it's vulnerable. I mean, you name it, right? Her voice is just angelic. It's absolutely stunning, and the songwriting on this track is great in my opinion. It reminds me of the songwriting that made me kind of fall in love with her music in the first place. On My Shoulders is a sultry track about trust, or better, the lack thereof in a relationship. These demons on her shoulders are kind of like keeping her from trusting and believing in her partner and in what they say. And at the same time, they're causing her to become more controlling and possessive. The production's jazzy, it's very smooth in nature. The groovy bass kind of seems to be a theme in Sabrina's music, you know, the very jazzy, groovy bass lines. And in this track specifically, I appreciate the unconventional hi-hat patterns and rolls. I mean, you know, it's a good song, it's got great vibes. It's a great track to vibe out to. It's very laid back. Next, we get Me and Her. Me and Her is Sabrina talking to an ex-lover, and this ex-lover is in a new relationship. And she points out some of the similarities between this ex-lover's new love interest and herself. And basically, she's talking to this ex-lover saying that if they're searching for her in their new lover, they're never going to find her because their new love interest doesn't really know them as well as Sabrina does. And, it's very interesting. It's very well written. Sabrina's use of background vocals and the vocal arrangements have always amazed me. And although this track isn't necessarily the best example in her discography that I could use to showcase some of that, it's still a great track and is still worth appreciating and noting on this song. The production is similar in style to that last track. It just features very few different instruments, maybe some keys or something like that the last track didn't really feature as much. Sabrina blames herself for a relationship gone bad in I Don't Mean To. She asks whether she wasn't listening to her partner, she asks how she never saw this coming, and she kind of takes responsibility for her partner kind of growing colder and colder in their treatment of her throughout the relationship. She also reveals the desire to make things right and fix the relationship if it isn't too late. I suppose a critique that I could make at this point in the project is that in terms of style, production, tone, mood, the last 3 tracks have been very, very similar. To a casual listener, that could get kind of boring or repetitive. In my personal taste, I see no problem with that, but it is worth mentioning that if I'm listening to this music in the first place, it's because I am in a certain mood and a certain mind state. And so the reason for my not really having a problem with that is probably because if I'm listening to the music in the first place, it's probably the style of music that I'm in the mood for anyway. So, it wouldn't really feel that repetitive to me. But it is worth mentioning. It is a critique that is valid for sure. I could definitely see other people making that argument when it comes to this project. And yeah, they are pretty similar. The next track is As Long As You're Asleep. And it took me a minute to kind of get my head around the concept of how she wrote this track. Sabrina's talking about somebody that she loves. Shocker, right? And she thinks about this person a lot. And she basically says that she has started living out her life at nighttime when she knows that this person that she loves is asleep. Because that way she can at least be certain that if they're asleep, they're not out cheating on her or making bad decisions or even thinking about being with someone else. See, if she were awake during the day, she couldn't be certain of where this person was or what they were doing or who they were talking to, but at least by living out her life at night, she can be certain that if they are asleep next to somebody, they're not doing anything because he can't give the other woman what he gives to her because they're both asleep. And that if he is asleep at night, then he can't be thinking about someone else or doing anything, or, she can be certain at least about what he's doing. And that certainty is comforting to her. It's a very strange coping mechanism for somebody who seems to be in a very unhealthy relationship. And it's interesting to me because there are a myriad of songs that talk about the fear of being cheated on and unfaithful partners and things like that. But Sabrina managed to write this in a way that makes her song stand out from the rest. It makes her song feel unique. She takes a whole different approach and kind of paints this picture from a different light, kind of accepting the fact that you are probably getting cheated on, but living out your life in a way where you think about the fact less. It's very strange, but it's a testament to her songwriting and the imagery that she uses. And the creativity, is just astounding to me. The style to the production switches too for this track. The song is in 6/8. It provides a different swing to the beat. It provides a different feeling to the track than the past 3 tracks. It stops it from getting extremely repetitive. And in terms of the melody she's singing, it has a more gospel element, a more gospel feeling to it than the jazzier feelings of the previous tracks. And as always, heavenly singing and performance, angelic vocals. I have such admiration for the way her voice sounds. It's great. The next song is Problem With You. And this is like a sultry, sexy version of 7 Things by Miley Cyrus. Sabrina's listing the fact that she loves this person as a problem, and she's talking about the fact that she thinks about them 24/7 and she can't get over them and how much she wants to be with them and misses them. And she's saying that she hates that fact. She hates that this person doesn't care as much about her as she does about them, and she hates the fact that she can't stop thinking about this person, and she hates the fact that she loves them. If you think about it, only giving us one side of the relationship, we do only get to see her side. And if you think about this as though it were an actual relationship between 2 people, it would be kind of selfish and arrogant to say that the problem with them is the other person and that there are no problems with themselves. But seeing this only from her perspective and taking her side since she is the person singing, and seeing this as a hypothetical relationship is just, like I said, a sultrier, sexier version of 7 Things by Miley Cyrus, where she lists out 7 things that she hates about them because those 7 things make her love them. So its production is very cinematic in nature, and it also is very hypnotizing. She does have a very hypnotic feeling to her music. And the next track is Holding the Gun. If you'd like to know my thoughts on that track, I actually filmed a reaction to it when it first dropped. You can click the link in the top right hand corner to go check that out and see me reacting to it live on camera. Well, not live, but for the first time on camera. The last track is the Spanish version of Truth Is, and I already gave my thoughts and opinions on that as well. So in short, this album features everything that I love about Sabrina Claudio and her music. Cinematic production with emphatic string arrangements and a very clever use of trap drums, along with great vocal arrangements, haunting main vocals from Sabrina at some points, and wonderful songwriting. The downside to it is that there's very little variety. In order for me to really enjoy this album, I do have to be in a certain mood, in a certain mind state, and that's worth mentioning because it's not like, is he real? By IDK, you know, I could throw that on at any time at all and enjoy every single track on there. Whereas with this slower music, I do have to be in a certain vibe to enjoy it and to want to listen to it. So that is a downside to it. And like I said, it can feel a little repetitive towards the middle of the album, and that is something that can repel listeners as opposed to draw them in. I enjoyed sitting with this album though in order to write this review and give my thoughts on it. I listened to it 5 times, and so I feel like I can give it a 6.5 to a very light 7 with a clear conscience, and think that that is a fair rating for this project. I'm certain some people are going to feel like that's kind of low, but like I said, I rated this project based on my personal music tastes and the personal pros and cons that I found in this project. So, I mean, it's not like my word is the end-all be-all rating for this album. So be sure to let me know how you feel about it and your opinions in the comments section. And yeah, that's how I feel about this project. I was going to do a review to Summer Walker's album, but I think I'll just be doing a reaction to that one so that I can get the video out sooner to you guys, because these reviews, since I gotta give the album multiple listens, they take a few days to make. And yeah, I hope you guys are excited for that. Thank you all so much for watching. Support the channel with a subscription or by supporting the channel on Patreon or following me on my social media. I mean, whichever you'd prefer, really. Just any support that you show in any way at all, any manner, is greatly appreciated. I was going to say very, but I switched it up mid-word. Yeah, I appreciate you all so much. And I will see you all in another video very soon, guys. Stay safe until then. Peace out.